The Frozen North, Episode 54, our top 5 video game weapons.
Hello and welcome to the Frozen North Gaming Podcast. My name is JJ, and I'm your host, and I'm here with my two friends and co-hosts, Mark.
Howdy, y'all!
Is that you?
That was actually Brian.
Okay.
Hi, Mark.
Is that all you got?
I thought Brian was going to say something.
Well, after I said, and Brian.
Hi, guys. It's Brian. I'm Brian.
Cool. All right.
Brian
We've all
also
been introduced.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Mark, you ruin everything.
Oh, yeah.
God.
Oh, man. Anyway.
Seriously. So how we doing? How have the past 2 weeks been?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Did you say funtastic?
No, fantastic.
Fantastic. Oh, I got you. Whoops.
Oh my goodness. Well, why don't we start out? I mean, episode 54, guys.
Yeah, dude. It's a big deal.
Why don't we start out like we always do?
Episode 54 is a number.
It's like twice as many as the third time of the month when we did the... I don't know, I'm trying to make up some random fact that Mark usually tries to...
I won't even attempt
Mark,
to make up
random
a random fact right. I can't.
Okay,
I can't do it.
Can I make a motion with the council to add a new little mini segment to go... Mark, make up a motion.
A motion?
I mean, make up an idea. Go.
An idea?
Or fact.
I have an idea. A fact?
Make up a fact. Go.
Okay.
Make up a fact.
Here's a very shallow fact. One more episode, and we'll be on episode 55.
There it is,
It's true.
everybody.
He's right. You heard it here first, folks.
Mark facts.
Oh my gosh. So, what have you guys been playing?
My name is Mark, and I've been playing...
Wow.
He's reading his notes.
I didn't know if they could recognize my voice, even though
can
they've been listening for
Mark-
54 episodes.
Mark,
Have
can,
they, though?
Can you just
That's-
recite
that's
what
a
you've
good
been
question.
playing through memory and not...
No,
know?
I can't. I have to look at the screen. Okay, hold on. I'll try not to look.
Okay.
I've been playing the Halo... I almost said Halo 4 beta. The Halo 5 beta,
Okay.
which sadly works better than the released Master Chief Collection, which I paid $60 for. The game I'm playing for free that's still a year out is more reliable.
You can probably stop saying Halo and just say, like, I've been playing the Xbox One game.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I should just say that from now on.
Touche.
No, don't do that. I'm going to get beat up.
I've also been playing Rust, which is an open world, online, super ruthless survival game.
Yuck.
It's been pretty fun. It's like if you took the DayZ game and made it more focused. It's not as much of you just trying to run from zombies for 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
I've also been playing Suikoden 2.
Woo.
I finally beat that monster I got myself stuck on earlier.
Mark, question for you. Have you bought Suikoden 2 on PSN yet?
Nope.
Wow.
But I will.
I'm going to tell Ryan to listen to this episode.
Yeah, specifically.
What if I buy it before the episode comes out?
Well, then I'll say he's bought it since.
Okay, deal.
But I don't think you will.
I will.
Not.
So I'm going to go buy it tonight.
I don't think that's true.
It's 10 whole US dollars.
I have a GameStop gift card that I need to use.
Oh,
Oh,
snap.
that's true.
So
I
Get a
can't believe
PLO.
you haven't bought it yet, man. I figured you'd be
Man.
the first one out the gate.
I don't like going and getting... Okay, first of all, I don't give Sony my credit card information because they've been shown to not be good with our private information.
What company is?
Well, I mean, Nintendo and Microsoft haven't lost credit card information, so...
But it's just as easily accessed.
Yeah, but as far as I know, I mean...
They didn't store it in plain text either.
I have not had any money stolen from me because of that or anything.
I mean-
Ryan, same, right?
It could have been worse, true, but it still happened.
Right.
No, right.
And so
Absolutely.
I don't want to trust them with my data, so I have to buy little cards at physical stores in order to do anything with the PSN.
All right, understandable. Should have done it a while ago, though.
Yeah, fair enough. But I've been a homebody for the last couple of weeks.
If you are a listener and have not bought Suikoden 2 on PSN yet, what are you waiting for? Seriously, it's $10. Get it.
Yeah.
USD.
Actually, I mean, I should. I'm a bit ashamed of myself. You can tell.
Oh, I'm ashamed of you as
my
well.
face looks. I'm showing a lot of shame on my face right now, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say shame. Yeah.
I was watching the Konami Twitch channel, and they were saying that they really want to see a lot more sales.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be important
And
for
it's
any
people like
future
you.
news. It's not people like me, because I'm going to buy it tonight before this episode comes out, so I won't become shamed.
No, I mean, you're the biggest Suikoden fan among us here,
Yeah.
for sure. So, I mean, I know that it was just the issue with Sony, and I know you would have bought it in a heartbeat if you were willing to, I guess, trust them on that.
I guess my worry is with it, were they worried about, are the sales bad for it? I mean, I know I bought it, but
he couldn't say what the sales
But
were
it sounds
or
like it
what
is.
their milestones were that they were looking for. But just from his tone, it didn't sound like they were as good as. And he said that the PSN hacking thing
it probably didn't help.
Didn't help at all.
Sure.
But my worry is this weekend in Revival Movement, it's huge. We're talking multiple thousands.
20,000 plus on
But-
Facebook, yeah.
But even if every single person on the Weekend in Revival Movement bought that game, I don't think that's the target numbers they're looking for.
Yeah, that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, so
Right.
as good as this Weekend in Revival Movement is, perhaps Suikoden's not quite as popular as we all hope it should be. But hopefully we can get the word out that it's good, and it's on the PSN. Pick it up, try it, playing it. But yeah, just the people we have right now.
Even with 20,000 plus people, it's still all word of mouth, and they can't do it all by themselves. Everybody has to put the word out. It's
Because 20,000 is not going to.
We've talked about it a million times over.
Yeah.
It's a great game. It's a great series. Try it if you've not tried it.
If 5 of our 10 listeners try it, that's
50%.
That's 50%. That's a
See,
true fact.
I know for a fact that we get quite a bit more downloads than that. But
We get 12.
That's funny still.
He's yeah, it's
Yeah,
12.
12. Yep.
It's 12, Mark. Come on.
Oh boy.
Those 2 listeners you left out are so mad.
I have been playing a little bit of World of Warcraft. I've kind of fell into a slump a little bit on that. I just haven't had the time to devote to an MMO at this point. I've been playing a lot of Far Cry 4 still.
Yeah.
And man, the story is just so goofy and off the wall, and it's just not very good. So disjointed and makes no sense. Like Far Cry 3, one of the things I really liked was at the beginning of the game when your guy kills somebody for the first time and he's like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And like freaking out and everything like that. This one, the dude just shows up in this country and gets told a few things about his parents, and then he's like, all right, I guess I'm in the Resistance Army now, and starts killing people. And it's like, whoa, all right, guy, cool.
Yeah.
Little dissonance there. With,
I don't know. It's just odd. But as far as like going on and just having fun in this open world, oh my gosh, it's a blast. Just running around, taking over bases, doing missions, and just exploring what Ubisoft put together is amazing. And I just, as a time killer and just to have a blast, it is a great time.
Yeah.
Can't recommend it enough on that front.
Did you know you could beat the game in about 10 minutes?
Is that true?
It is true. So at the beginning of the game, you come into the place, very
In the
specific.
palace, I know what you're
into the
talking about.
palace on the bus, and you get brought out, and the bad guy says he has to go do something really quick. He'll be back in 5 minutes. If you wait 5 minutes and he comes back, you just get to do what you were originally there to do.
That's not at the beginning by the bus.
Oh, it isn't?
No, because he actually brings you to a palace, and you're sitting down eating dinner or lunch or something like that, and then he
Okay.
says, "I gotta go," and you hear like somebody getting tortured downstairs, and you're supposed
So I
to
guess
go
it'll
check
take
it
more
out.
than 10 minutes.
You're supposed to go check it out, but if you wait, if you don't do anything, it's done,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and that's confirmed.
Yes.
Wow.
It's been confirmed by Reddit, which has never lied to me.
Oh
Jeez.
God.
So you have no idea whether that's true or not.
I believe it to be true.
Oh my gosh.
We'll test it out after this episode.
You gonna buy the game?
No, I'm going to play it on your...
I'm not starting it over.
Oh.
Anyways,
You're forcing him to buy and play a game.
I know, right? It's ridiculous. Brian has it. He got it for free. Shoot, I don't think
At
he
least
started
when
it yet.
I
haven't
make up
started yet, no.
facts, I get caught on
So
the
have-
show
I
and not
Brian
later
do it.
on.
I'm itching to start it though.
See, have Brian do it. He's about getting ready
Do
to
it up.
start.
After I play a game first, I gotta play.
Oh, here we go.
The other game I've been playing is Dragon Fantasy on my Vita.
Hold on. Are there dragons in it?
Yes.
Is it a fantasy?
Yep. It is actually a mix of Dragon Age or Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy.
Oh, cool.
And I just beat book 1, which you guys would hate it, to be honest, because it's very, very old school, like sprites and turn-based battling, and very right up my alley. And then I'm on book 2 now, which throws in a few elements of Chrono Trigger, like the combat and stuff,
that's cool.
which is kind of cool. So I really enjoy it, and highly recommend it if you like that old school stuff. It's got a great sense of humor, and it really just draws from all those old school classic games. It's a good time. Brian?
World of Warcraft, been continuing my campaign against the Iron Horde and their evilness. And just finished BioShock Infinite in all its glory and all its DLC. And I can honestly say that, in my opinion, Ken Levine and his writing staff wrote one of the best multi-universe / time travel stories that I've ever, like, movie, a book, anything that I've ever witnessed. One of my favorite things about how they do with that game is they start changing, like, has, all that stuff. The language has changed. Like, there's a scene, it's not going to spoil anything, but there's a scene in Burial at Sea episode 2 where you're playing as Elizabeth, and you're talking with I think a booker. It's like a booker in her mind. It's like her idea of booker. And you're back in Colombia during the time that you were in Colombia the first time as Booker and trying to take Elizabeth. And the Booker in your head says, well, what if we see our past selves in this reality? And she goes, well, we won't. And he says, well, how do you know? Because we didn't. I just love that kind of, like, it just hits you like, oh yeah, like we would have seen each other. He says, what if we see each other? He says, well, we won't. She says, we won't see each other. Well, how do you know? Because we didn't.
Yes, very complicated to talk about time travel type storylines.
But the way they did it, and it literally ties BioShock 1 to BioShock Infinite in such a way, it just blew my whole world. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
JJ really needs to play Infinite.
Yeah, it's just such a good story, and I give them so much props. It's the best multi-universe / time travel story, and well written and easy enough to understand. It's still pretty complex, but
I still, when I think back to that part when the curtain gets drawn back in BioShock Infinite, incredible.
They're not stars, they're doors. That part. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a really cool scene. Anyway, that's what I've been playing. I finished that up. I'm going to start my review, and oh man, the DLC is well worth the price tag on that. It's both DLCs are varied. One you play as a Booker, or the other one you play as Elizabeth, and Elizabeth's more of she's not really as powerful as Booker, so she's got to use a lot more subterfuge. And
cool.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Mark, if anybody wants to email us, where can they email us?
They can email us at frozennorthpodcast@gmail.com.
Brian, what's our website?
fngaming.net.
Mark, what's our Facebook page?
At FN Podcast. Wait, did you say Twitter?
Not even remotely our Facebook page.
That's not even the right syntax for Facebook.
Nope. If you go to Facebook and type in at FN Podcast, you're not going to find us.
You'll just have a status that says
will not.
at FN Podcast.
Yep.
And I don't know.
Which is fine.
I click on the sidebar link for Facebook.
Facebook.com/The Frozen North.
Hey, at least I got one right that you didn't ask.
Brian, what's our Twitter?
At
if you get this wrong.
At FN Podcast.
Okay, just making sure. We also have a blog at frozennorthpodcast.blogspot.com. And where can they subscribe to and rate us, Mark?
iTunes.
He said that so seriously.
iTunes.
Yes, we would absolutely appreciate you going there and rating us and subscribing.
Indubitably.
For sure. Tell us what you like. What you don't like. Whatever.
Yeah.
So, we got some news?
We do. Guys, Star Fox, unsurprisingly, is due for an E3 2015 appearance.
I hope so, considering we haven't seen anything and it's supposed to be going out this year.
Yeah, we're finally going to, I'm assuming it's going to be coming out Q4 or Q3 of 2015, so we're going to see a little ditty maybe. Nintendo announced in December that The Legend of Zelda for Wii U and Star Fox are both on track for 2015 releases. Obviously, we didn't see any footage from Star Fox. I think you mentioned that last time, JJ. But it is scheduled to have a showing at E3, which will be nice. Going to get to see what kind of game it is, and if it maybe harkens back to the Star Fox of yore.
If it comes out looking like StarCraft, this is going to be weird.
RTS Star Fox style. All right.
Dude, an RTS would be sweet with the gamepad on Wii U.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That'd be great.
That actually... You just broke new ground.
New ground.
Nintendo, do it.
No, they won't, because that's a good idea.
Oh! Come on.
I
Come on. They have good ideas.
I razz because I love.
They have good ideas, but they put them in the filing cabinet in the back
For later.
Lock it.
Right.
Oh, hey guys! Remember how we were talking about how we couldn't put Kingdom Hearts 3 on our lists because we didn't think they were coming out in 2015.
Yep.
Well, rumor mill has churned, and a voice actor has maybe spilled the beans that it is due for a 2015 release. If this is true, we here at the Frozen North are super excited. Well, except for Mark.
Right.
True.
Yeah. So
And
me and JJ.
this is not confirmed. This
No.
is totally a rumor, but the source is...
So in an interview with one of the voice actors, I think he kind of hinted at, like, I think he said, well, yeah, it's due at the end of the year.
Yeah, and then Square Enix said we have not announced when it's coming out.
But which is a telltale sign that they're like, yeah, we haven't announced it yet, which means that's probably 2015. I'd
We'll
hope
see.
so. It could get delayed, obviously, out into 2016.
I'm
but
okay with it getting delayed because I have a million other things to play.
Yeah, right. I know. Oh, and then we got another one here. Sony launching PlayStation Now subscription program. By the time you guys listen to this podcast, it'll actually be launched. It's launching January 13th. A lot of good news with this. It's going to work much like Netflix, in which it is a subscription-based streaming service, but for games. If this works well enough, it could be the next big thing, guys.
It's pretty exciting.
Price tag is going to be $19.99 per month, unless you buy like a bundle month package, in which it can go down to $15.99. But like I said, works just like Netflix. You log on, you click the game you want to play. I think there's 100 games in the catalog right now.
Yeah.
And then you play via stream. I'm curious to see how 1-1 it is. If it is,
Right.
you
and I think, have the same fears on that on that front.
If it is 1-1, though, if it's truly 1-1 and you have good enough internet to sustain that, then that's fantastic.
Yep.
For people who don't. Now, I'm a guy who likes to play games. I buy games. I like to buy games that I play and beat. But for somebody who is maybe somebody who just wants to experience gaming and doesn't have the capital to shell out, $100+ a month to play games, this is a fantastic service for it.
It's also for people who just joined the PlayStation family,
Yes.
who were previously maybe only Xbox fans.
Yep.
And if you think about it, it's cheaper too. You you give out $20, you've got a month of all these games at your disposal
To play whenever what you want at your streaming convenience. So I think that's pretty cool. Time will tell if that's a service that, like I said, it's got to be as close to 1-1 as possible, or else I think won't be worth the price tag.
Right.
Because why not just go buy the game and play it? But okay, moving on. Nearly 2,000 games, guys, received $89 million in Kickstarter funding in 2014. Now, that's a little misleading. 2,000 games did not individually receive $89 million, but 2,000 games received $89 million total. So split that up, some games at more, but still $89 million in Kickstarter to fund video games. I would say the video game industry is alive and well based on those numbers.
Definitely.
I think so.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Kickstarter a good thing for gaming? Kickstarter a bad thing for gaming? Do you like what Kickstarter's doing? Do you want to see kind of more crowdfunding?
I think Kickstarter, in theory, is amazing.
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of people who go into it unprepared.
Yeah.
And,
Definitely.
Because people think that it definitely is a way to get your business off the ground, but you have to have something tangible and have to have something prepared.
And you need to have a plan.
Right. You can't just go on there and be like, I want to make this, I want to do this, and I need the money to do it. It's like, no.
You can't
you
just
have
go
to
on
show
there-
me something first.
Yeah.
You can't just go on there and say, I need a new gaming PC for my streaming channel.
So you wouldn't believe how many people do that too.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I saw one, and I'm not saying this was a bad idea, but I saw one a while ago where these guys they wanted to open up a local video game store, and they were asking for like $180,000, and it was like for this city out in Florida, and it was like, well, who's gonna vote for that? Like, first of all, you don't have anything. They did have a building picked out that they were looking at, but it's like, first of all, nobody outside of that area of Florida is going to even do this. And did you really think $180,000 worth of people were going to be?
Yeah, you gotta
you have to think about your audience and how you want to do this.
The way I feel about Kickstarter is it's a great place to go if you're filling a vacuum and you've exhausted all your other options.
Yeah.
But if it's your first place you go to just because you don't want to put up your own money,
Bad.
Right.
or if you're doing something that everyone else is already doing anyway, those two things are death.
Yeah.
In all honesty, the name Kickstarter is, it's a good name, but I think it's a little misleading because your business should already be established. You should be expanding it using Kickstarter.
Right.
So
It's a great place for people to leave big companies but already have the experience of making games and to try and make something new that they couldn't get.
Like David Schaefer, a.k.a. Tim Schaefer.
Right.
right.
Somebody who's got experience in the industry and knows what he's doing, just doesn't want to deal with a overlord.
Yep.
It's a good way to do it.
Right.
And then our last bit of news, I actually read this article. It's a Forbes article. Forbes is kind of if you don't know what Forbes is a financial website / magazine / everything that has to do with economy, shareholders, all that financial jargon. They're an article and they're trying to figure out how Sony is doing what they're doing in the gaming scene. They have sold 18.5 million units, PS4 units, and when I say sold, a lot of times companies will put shipped, which means shipped to retailers.
Yeah, that means that a store could have,
Yes,
50 of them sitting in their back room.
Which shipped is a very misleading our target. This is actual sold units, which is even more mind-blowing. This is not shipped. This is 18.5 million single units sold to consumers.
Shipped matters for investors, but
Yes.
sold matters for actually knowing.
Correct. So that number is, and that's why Forbes is looking at it like, well, how are they doing this? Because honestly, it's bad. It's the amount of lead they have over Microsoft and Nintendo right now is, I wouldn't say insurmountable at this point, but getting to that point where it's like, I don't see how they're going to catch.
They're not going
Sony.
to catch up. But just like, the Wii sold 100 million was way ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
That didn't mean the other two were a ghetto.
No.
I think
No,
everyone's going to be fine.
Here, I'm going to go over some numbers. So the latest data for the Xbox One is 10 million consoles shipped to retailers in mid-November.
Yeah.
They didn't release any sold to customers data since quarter 1 of 2014, and in that quarter they did 5.1 million. Xbox One had been sold, not shipped, so that was 5.1 sold units in quarter 1, but that's the last data we've really got. And then we shouldn't leave out that Nintendo, the Wii U, with its year-long head start, that console sold just under 7.5 million units, which is not good after having an entire calendar year a head start on both consoles.
Yeah.
It's not by any means putting them out of business.
No.
They're sustaining and they're picking up now, obviously, but just that lead on that Sony has an absolute. They got their foot on the throat of both Microsoft and Nintendo at this point. They are doubling their numbers, and in fanboys, you can't even argue that Sony is absolutely crushing right now. It's really not debatable. You can say that in the long run, it's by no means over. I'm not calling the race, and there's no way you can say that Sony's won this generation because it's a long generation. But at this point in time,
they've certainly won launch.
Yeah. Yes. And then while there's still a long time to go in the generation, Sony has set themselves up in an extremely enviable situation. Like I'm sure Microsoft and Nintendo would love to be in the position that Sony is in right now, because Sony is basically printing money and selling systems in at a clip that's kind of unprecedented at this point. I don't think anybody projected these kind of numbers. I don't even think Sony did. I think Sony's going, I don't know. What
do we do
What
now?
did we do?
I wonder if they'll get to the install base that PS2 got to, which was I think it was 125 million.
That'll be
best-selling console
That'll
ever.
be tough. That'll
I
be
believe.
tough.
I might
think.
be wrong about that. Write in and tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that'll be tough. But Sony, after last generation, I think Sony is kind of breathing easy at this point. Like, okay, we didn't flub up the third, the fourth console like we did the first launch
Right.
on the PS3. So that's it. By no means is Microsoft or Nintendo in dire straits. They're still selling well, but this article is more about trying to figure out why Sony's doing so well and what they did right and what's going on there. I would go take a look. It's on Forbes' website, Forbes.com.
We'll have the links in the episode description up on our website.
It's
fmgaming.net.
It's a great read on the business side of things. And speaking of business side of things, my last thing is Nintendo made a business decision to pull out of Brazil. There are some pretty strict tariffs in Brazil, and even though Nintendo's got tons of loyal fans in Brazil, Nintendo kind of saw the writing on the wall. The writing is money, and they were like, "We don't have the sustainable business to stay in Brazil." So they apologized to the Brazilian fans too. They even said, "We regret doing this. We know we have a huge loyal fan base in Brazil, but they said, business wise, we can't stay in there with these crazy tariffs in Brazil. And who can blame them? I mean, I'd rather them make business decisions and stay around than try to please everybody and stretch themselves too thin.
Yep.
So that would be our last bit of news, guys.
For sure. Okay. We're going to do a quick Beyond the Game. I don't know that we'll talk about it for super long, but all right. So today we're going to talk a little bit about counterculture in gaming. Brian, what does that mean?
So counterculture is, I think, hippie. So in the 50s, counterculture really made its prominence in the 50s, going into the 60s when the war culture that came back was very strict and their children were just wanting to live their own life and do things they want to do and not go with the norm, which was straight-laced boots, make beds. So what counterculture is nowadays is anything that's popular is supposed to be bad. Popular equals bad is counterculture, basically. It's the contrarian. Well, you like that game? Well, I don't because I'm different than you. That's kind of the whole mentality is even though they may like the game, and here's my theory on it is, Call of Duty is an insanely good franchise or insanely popular franchise because it's good.
Yes.
It's well made.
There have been good installments in that series.
They're good installments, right? But there's this big, in Halo the same way. It's good, but then there's that section of people who, for some reason, want to stand out, and regardless of it's being good, they just want to say it's bad. So that they are different. That's what counterculture is. You see that in every walk of life. But why I want to talk about it specifically in gaming and whether or not it hurts or helps gaming to literally complain or not like something just to be a little different than everybody else. That's what we're talking about.
Well, I think the first question that would have to come to mind is whether people are conscious of the fact that they're doing it, or if it's something more subconscious.
I would say yes, they are conscious of it, but I think it's to the point where that's their identity.
Yeah, I could see that.
They want to stand out. They want to feel like
different.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I mean, perfect example, Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
It's an amazing game.
Yep.
And regardless, I have no doubt that there are people who genuinely do not like that game, and that's fine. It's totally fine. But there are also people who deny the fact of the impact that it made when it came out. No way, dude.
Right.
The game came out and it brought people to the RPG genre that never even thought about it before.
Yep.
It made waves when it came out.
I see I see the term drone a lot. A lot of counterculture people call people that like popular things drones and followers, and and I think it's just a mentality that they want to be different. They don't want to feel like they're in a crowd. But in my opinion, and this goes for all counterculture because there's tons of it in movies. But there was this huge hatred for Ubisoft's game Watch Dogs,
right?
Kind of like. Here's the new thing to hate on. When you played it and my brother played it and both said, I don't have any idea what the complaints were. I don't understand why it was ostracized like it was. I haven't personally played it, so I can't speak to it. But I think that comes back to the gaming counterculture where we need to have something to hate on. We need to have something to set ourselves apart. We can't just like everything, even if it's likable. Right? It's great, but I can't like it because then I'm going to feel like I'm part of the crowd and I've got to stand out. So I'm going to find something to nitpick so that I'm that guy. Oh, you're that guy that doesn't like Watch Dogs. Oh, you're cool.
And the thing about Watch Dogs is that it's not Game of the Year. It's not going to be the best thing since sliced bread. It did have a few issues with it.
Sure.
But I had a good time with it.
But what game doesn't?
Well, exactly. But the fact that it wasn't, way up here on the scale meant that it was easier for people to look at it and tear it down because they could nitpick a lot more because there was a lot more to nitpick.
I think some of the negative energy that is directed towards Watch Dogs also came out of just the disconnect between what we saw at E3 and what the reality of the game was.
And I was just going to talk about that.
That happened for Uncharted as well.
I think a lot of the issue, too, with counterculture now and seeing this negativity, and I call it vitriol on the internet, is I think companies are starting to make a little bit too many promises and not following through on them. And that's
Destiny?
an issue. Yeah. So companies are starting to build up their games like they're the next greatest thing, and they're not, which is causing a lot of grief amongst the gaming community. But I do think that counterculture in gaming specifically is kind of self-defeating, where at some point counterculture is going to get it's a cycle. It'll get so popular that everybody's going to be counterculture, and then now you're part of the drone system.
And that's what always happens.
It's a
like
cycle.
hipsters.
Correct. It's like now you are the popular. Now being the not hipster, the non-counterculture is the minority. So now all the drones are, and honestly, it's funny because they always talk about hipsters always talk about being a drone but they all spew the same thing. So it's like
Right. I'm not going to conform, so I'm going to go be like my friends.
And then it gets to that. It gets to that weird part where it's gone all the way around the cycle, and now people are ironically enjoying things.
Correct.
Like when people were watching Jersey Shore, because it was ironically enjoyable to them. They're like, "Oh, I'm above these characters, but it's fun to watch."
Yeah.
But a few years before that, they would have been judging anyone that would watch something like that.
I just have noticed that counterculture in gaming is becoming a little bit more and more about what can we hate despite its popularity.
Cynicism is fun.
It is.
There's no other way to put it.
But
it's fun to be cynical.
My problem with it is if a game's good, it's okay if it's good. It's not. Yeah. It's not bad that it's good. You can like it.
Mm-hmm.
If it sells 7 million units, it's a good game.
You also have to take into account there are people who are still gonna ride that. Like I fully admit myself, I make fun of Call of Duty. I make fun of Halo. Right. But at the same time, I own a lot of Halo games already. Right. I own a few Call of Duty games. I admit that they're good games.
I think you're ironically counterculture. I think you just kind of you're not somebody who literally believes that they're terrible games.
Right.
You poke fun because it's fun.
Yeah,
but there are legitimate people out there who don't like a popular franchise just because it's popular.
Which
literally
is stupid.
Because they want to stand out.
Yep.
And that's, I don't know, man. It's never going to go away. I can't ever PSA and be like, public service announcement. It's not okay to be a hipster and not like things because they're popular. I just think that it's self-defeating in gaming. There's no point to it. It's quite literally, it's a detriment only.
World of Warcraft.
Well, yeah.
A lot of people don't like it just because, you play WoW? Oh, okay. Well, I play this one that nobody's ever heard of. Like,
exactly.
Gosh.
I play WildStar, and it is way better than WoW. Well, if it was better than WoW, people would be playing that over WoW.
I know how they feel. Just kidding. No, World of Warcraft's a great game.
If you don't play
if
you don't play World of Warcraft because you don't have time for it, or there's legitimate reasons why you don't want to play it, that's fine. But
or if you legitimately don't like it,
yeah. If it's not your style,
a lot of people I've never heard anybody admit to saying I don't like it because it's popular. You can tell when they're actually nitpicking, going after the stupidest, smallest, insignificant little things, and you're like, come on.
The biggest argument for people who they're never going to admit they don't like it because it's too popular, but this is the language they use. It's too casual.
For WoW?
Like when they say WoW's too casual, I always look at them like, okay,
yeah.
That's them saying, I don't like it because it's too mainstream. That's literally what they're saying.
Can I jump in to defend that argument?
Okay.
One of the games that I really enjoy in the MMO sphere is Darkfall Online.
Okay.
And the reason I enjoy it is because you have full open PvP and full loot. So if you die, everything you had on you gets dropped, and anyone can go take it.
If you like that,
anyone can kill you.
If you legitimately like that type of game, then that's fine.
That's not me saying I don't like WoW because a lot of people like it. It's me saying I like the high stakes of a more punishing game.
Right.
But there are plenty of people that do exactly what you're saying just because it's popular.
Because when people say it's too casual, I'm like, they have mythic rating now. It's definitely not casual.
No,
it's just very broad. It's got casual aspects and then very hardcore aspects. So, and that's why it does so well, because it appeals to such a wide audience. And I don't like people who say, well, I just want games to be this narrow what I like. I'm like, why wouldn't you want them to broaden that so that everybody can enjoy an aspect of that game? No, I want them to go down the strict corridor that only attends to my needs.
So here's a question for you.
What?
It kind of goes along with what you just said about people using it's too casual as an argument to defend that. A lot of people, the original Wii.
Yeah.
A lot of people looked at that and considered it to be not as good because it was too casual.
Okay.
Would you put that in the same boat?
Yes, because I played the Wii and there were some fantastic games on the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I never can understand some of the games that I played that I loved. I know Xenogear or Xenoblade Chronicles. It can be casual, but just because it caters to casual audience doesn't mean it doesn't also have hardcore elements. That's what I'm trying to like. It doesn't need to be narrow. It can be broad. yes, it was very casual, but it also had hardcore games that were for gamers. I don't understand that argument. Now, if it was all casual games, if it was literally, there were no, like...
Yeah, Xenoblade was not easy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if there were no games that were built for gamers on the system, then yes, it's a casual system, and hardcore gamers need not apply. But right. I'm a hardcore gamer, and there were plenty of games on the Wii, and there are still games on the Wii that I haven't played. I have not played Xenoblade. I have not played The Last Story yet, and yet I still played a ton of Wii games. Mm-hmm. So I discredit that argument because you're not playing the system because it's too casual. It says to me that you're not playing it because you feel like if you buy a Wii U, you're part of the crowd. That's what all you're saying to me. So it's like the stupidest reason not to play a gaming system.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So that 100%. I put it in the same category because the Wii U did have hardcore games on it that you could have played that were good. So invalid argument. Sorry. Seriously.
No, you're right. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Yep. Well, I guess we're pretty much all in agreement then. It really does not help the gaming industry whatsoever. There's no way. I don't see how it could.
It can be entertaining sometimes.
But it's a self.
Like, look at all the YouTube channels that are just people shouting at their webcams about how much they hate something in a game.
But would you agree it's selfishly entertaining? Like it entertains yourself?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, if you do disagree with us or agree with us, please feel free to shoot us an email. Wow, I just messed up.
Hey.
Wow, look at that. Oh my gosh. Mark, what's our email address?
FrozenNorthPodcast@gmail.com.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yay.
Man.
I
can't make fun of you anymore.
That would have been funny if you went at effing podcast.
I almost did.
Man. All right, we're going to be going over our top 5 video game weapons, but first, let's go over to Raul for a quick side quest.
Now, make me feel it. Make me feel alive again. Good. Now we can fight as warriors. Hand to hand. It is the basis of all combat. Only a fool trusts his life to a weapon.
Sure, weapons are deadly, but fists can be as deadly or deadlier. This is the Deadly Fists of Gaming, 1990s edition. Starting off our list is Tifa Lockhart. Standing at 5'4", this Final Fantasy femme fatale will beat rush you into the ground. And although she can hold her own against Cloud's overcompensating Buster Sword, and she can obliterate entire swarms of enemies with her bare fist, she cannot seem to get Cloud to return her affection. Next on our list is Isla from Chrono Trigger. When you live in a time of massive dinosaurs where you best know how to defend yourself, this lady of the prehistoric era chooses to beat giant lizards with her bare fist. If you're able to level her to level 96, you will gain her bronze fist ability, making her even more deadly. Don't mess with her because she eats dinosaurs for breakfast and she tenderizes them with her bare fists. Continuing our list is Sabin Rene Figaro from Final Fantasy VI. With his blitz skill, he can punch you so hard your chocobo will feel it. One of the princes of Figaro, he left the throne to be free, choosing to devote his life to martial arts. His legendary blitz techniques such as the pommel, airblade, and bum rush shatters enemies and looks awesome. These next two brothers seem to have magnets on their fists that attract enemies. Billy Lee and Jimmy Lee from Super Double Dragon. Harnessing the power of Southern and Northern Sosetsuken, these brothers can quickly clear cities with their bare fists. Don't mess with them because they're double trouble. Our last contender puts a slap in Kung Fu Slap. Anyone can clear level with a weapon. What makes you a badass? Clear level with a slapper. 007 from GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64 has mastered the art of the Kung Fu Slap. He will slap you into next or last Sunday or whichever Sunday he damn well wants. Possible side effects include being disarmed, knocked unconscious, or killed. Many a henchman have fallen victim to his deadly slap. I wouldn't want to be at the end of this handshake. That does it for the Deadly Fists of Gaming 1990s edition. What Deadly Fists of Gaming would you like to see on the next Deadly Fists of Gaming episode? Email us at FrozenNorthPodcast@gmail.com. For the Frozen North, I am Raul Cruz.
And we're back. Thank you, Raul. Man, I feel like just punching some stuff right now. Or when he mentioned the 007 fist attack.
Oh, it brings back memories.
Picture it in my mind, just him doing the karate chop to the side. Oh my gosh,
those kills were the best.
Oh man, Raul, wonderful job as always. If you enjoyed what Raul did there on our side quest, you can absolutely go check them out. They are the Super Smart Gaming Podcast. They're on iTunes as well. They also are on Facebook and Twitter. Super Smart Gaming on Twitter, I believe. They didn't have enough room, so they had to do it that way. But yeah, definitely go check them out. And if you just do a search on iTunes for Super Smart Gaming, you'll find them on there. Great group of guys, great info, and they have a good time, which is one of the best things about a show. Okay, top 5. We're doing our top 5 video game weapons. Who wants to start?
Can I do an honorable mention that I just thought of?
Yeah, absolutely.
The tranquilizer gun from Perfect Dark.
Did you just call it a tranquilizer?
Tranquilizer.
Tranquilizer.
Okay. Wasn't sure.
I was going to call it Trank. And then I just decided to say
Tranquilizer.
What was the one that could shoot through walls? The ZF something?
the Farscape.
Farscope.
I think
Farsight. It's something with
Farsight.
Far.
It was Farsight.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that thing was cool.
But I really liked the tranquilizer gun because it was totally broken and you could shoot someone so much with it. And as you got tranquilized, your vision would become more and more blurry. But even if you killed yourself, you would come back with your vision still blurred.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
So it was pretty awesome.
True enough. Honorable mention for me would have to be the Monado from Xenoblade Chronicles. I mean, the whole game revolves around that sword. It's awesome. I don't want to say too much about it because it would be
It's integral
spoilers.
to the story.
Yeah. But
Hold on, let me mark that word. It's integral.
integral,
Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
integral to the street.
Integral to the Stee.
But it's first of all, if you have a Wii and you haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles, I hope it's still like $80.
I think
Probably.
so. Yeah. Those games aren't going to get any cheaper. They don't make them anymore.
They're ridiculous. Thanks Nintendo for limited runs. Anyways, so
I own it. I own a Wii and I own Xenoblade Chronicles. So
it's a great game. Tis best game on the system in my opinion. Brian, any honorable mentions?
I do. I'm going to go ahead and throw out that Spartan laser. Man, when you first got a hold of that, and I think it was Halo 3, one of the most satisfying kills ever is getting us. So they're it's a big old looking like rocket launcher that charges and fires a giant red. It's basically like what you'd put on a ship. It's this giant laser, and you can kill a tank with it pretty quick or a vehicle. But when you get an actual shot on somebody, because it's really hard to hit them because you have a charge time.
Yeah,
that was the most satisfying kill, is the Spartan laser kill.
Sometimes it's frustrating to use. But when you do get lucky, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, they're usually they're vehicle buster guns, but when you get a kill on somebody with it, woo, nothing better. That was my honorable mention.
You know what? I actually have one more. The AWP from Counter-Strike. Simply because, I mean, a weapon is going to be badass when you have games that start up where people say, okay, every gun is legal except for this one. Which happened a lot. Because, it was almost always a one-hit kill. They could barely touch you and you would just die. So, good and bad memories with that one.
Yeah.
Well, who wants to start?
I'll go.
All right, Brian, start us off.
My number 5 is the gravity gun, but that's on somebody's list later, so we'll talk about the gravity gun at length when it gets to it.
All right. Mark, number 5.
Ow.
You don't know your number 5.
My number 5
Who didn't know his
is...
number 5?
No, I had to scroll up.
Remember, he didn't even know his number 1.
I was actually checking. I was checking to see if any of my stuff is on anyone else's lists.
Oh, okay.
It looks like
You going to talk about your number 5?
yeah, I'm going to
top
talk
5?
about it. I'm trying to talk over you, but my number 5 is the laptop gun from Perfect Dark, and this is going to be a typical Mark answer because the reason I like it is because of how cheap it is.
Because laziness?
What? Actually, yeah.
I know. I loved it too.
So this gun is basically disguised as a laptop, old school giant laptop, folds out into a gun that you can hold and carry around. But the best feature of the gun isn't what you do with it. Like you can shoot people. The best feature of the gun is that you can throw it. You can just chuck it and it attaches itself to a wall or a ceiling or the ground and becomes an automated sentry, which was perfect for camping in a room with only one entrance and throwing it up somewhere where people can't see it until they come into the room. And they can just sit back there and wait for them to come after you and kill them every time.
Especially if you had on like one-hit kills.
Oh, yeah.
Which I did quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it was a blast. All right. My number 5
Say it. Say the whole thing.
is the BFG.
What does that stand for?
Big freaking gun.
Boom. That's the PG version.
Yeah, right. I was actually going to bring that up. I was like, I'm not going to say what it stands for, but a big freaking gun from the Doom series. Honestly, this is the first weapon that I can remember being a big deal in video games. Like you played Doom, Doom was a great game when it first came out and everything, and it's still iconic and classic and stuff like that. But the BFG was a hidden weapon that you couldn't find. But once you found it, that thing did some damage.
Yeah, the big ball that shot out. Boom.
Yep, and just oh my gosh, it was so cool.
If you could line them all up, it would go in a line and just disintegrate everything.
Yep, I loved it. So that's my number 5, the BFG from the Doom series. Brian, number 4.
My number 4 is the Blades of Chaos from the God of War series. Kratos' gift from Ares, the chained Blades of Chaos. Wow. Putting 2 swords on like chains had some interesting effects. Just like the twirly-whirly death. I called it the blender.
Twirly-whirly death blender.
The death blender of just blood and that. Man, when those came out, though, like you have to think about when it came out. No one had really seen that before. You know? Those were some fantastic weapons. They're kind of iconic now at this point as the God of War series. One of my favorite series, to be honest with you, because I'm a huge Greek mythology nerd. So, yeah, the Blades of Chaos, Kratos, the whirly, twirly blender of death.
All right. Mark, what's your number 4, sir?
My number 4 is the lightsaber from every Star Wars game.
I feel like this
Actually, it's not from every Star Wars game. There's plenty where there aren't.
I feel like it's kind of a cop-out.
No, it's not a cop-out!
Hold on. Because while yes, lightsabers are in games, but it originally was a movie.
Okay,
weapon.
so we can't talk about any kind of tie-in games from now on.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I'll
Because they
allow
originally came from something
I'll
else.
allow it.
Knights of the Old Republic, man.
No,
Yeah, come on.
I'm just saying, like,
But
I'll allow it.
It's not from the games
It's not
directly.
a game,
originally.
A game person didn't invent the weapon. Right. I'm just saying.
Ruining
I'm
Mark's
just
top 5.
saying. Go ahead. It's still a fantastic weapon. It's iconic.
What do you like about the lightsaber, Mark?
it's a lightsaber, man. It's just a little handle, and when you push the on button, I assume it says on the handle of the lightsaber. It's a blade of like light, and it makes the most amazing sound.
How do they
it
get
looks
it?
incredible.
How do they get?
And it can cut through metal.
Real quick, Mark.
And
how do they get it to stop? It's a blade of light, right?
I don't know, man. What do you at? I didn't like research how
Yeah,
the
we know.
lightsaber works.
We know because you
What do you
thought it
mean?
had an on button.
It has a button that he pushes. What would you call it besides an on button?
Real quick.
Knowing Mark too, he probably would want, like, even though the freaking sword's lighting up and
Yeah.
cutting stuff, he'd probably be like, I don't know, I can't tell, the red light's not on the handle, so I don't know if it's on yet.
Hey, hold on.
Indicator lights are important.
Whoa, real quick, just as a huge loophole, and I've always thought about this in the Star Wars universe. Why didn't they put the button on the inside of the lightsaber? And if you're really a Jedi, you can use the Force to turn it on, and that way nobody else can use it.
Because
Brilliant.
in the language of cinema, that would be really hard to portray to the viewer. That's why they didn't do it that way.
And for people like Mark who need an indicator light.
But let me tell you about indicator lights. What should really be the case is that there's a red light when it's not turned on, so that if you're trying to find your lightsaber in a dark room, you can just find the light.
Do you think lightsabers have a safety?
That's what I'm saying. Like, unless you're a Jedi who can wield the Force, you can't use a lightsaber. You put the button, or just use the Force to draw the light out. Whatever.
So you've got Dark Forces 2, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy.
It's a fantastic
KOTOR,
weapon.
Force Unleashed, and Force Unleashed 2.
Yep.
It's a fantastic
lightsabers.
Weapon. It's iconic.
It is, for sure. Thank you, Mark, for that. Mm-hmm. My number 4 is Frostmourne from the Warcraft series, but it shows up later on somebody else's list, so we will talk about it then.
Oh, yeah, we're on 3 now, huh?
I do believe so.
My number 3, and I don't know if anybody out there is going to remember this, the Chrono Scepter from Turok. So, the original Turok game came out for the N64. And in that game was a nuke gun. It was a fusion cannon, which shot a nuke. And you'd think, why isn't that your favorite gun? Because the Chronoceptor was even more spectacular. You basically, it's a scepter that you had to, it's a hidden gun. You had to piece together all the pieces. And then when you shot it, it was a bigger explosion than the nuke. It basically used like focused time energy to just rip apart reality. Oh, yeah, it was a weapon of mass destruction for sure. It basically just shredded everything using physics. So yeah, and back then the particle effects for that were it would flash a light like a nuke, and then you'd see this huge blue like. Yeah, it was awesome.
All right,
Chronoceptor. If anybody remembers that weapon, you'll know its glory.
I've played Turok, but I don't think I ever got that.
Yeah, it was a hidden one. The fusion cannon was awesome because it was a nuke, but that was even better.
Mark, number 3.
Woo! My number 3 is Corvo's crossbow from Dishonored.
What a fantastic game.
It's really fantastic. So, I mean, it's totally a stealth-based game. Well, if you're playing it right, it's a stealth-based game. If all the action players, you guys are stupid.
Wow.
You heard it
Listen,
here,
all
and,
hate mail, too.
That's, yeah. I'd like to hear it.
FrozenNorthPodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
I did it right. I said it right.
Corvo's crossbow is essentially the sniper rifle of the Dishonored games. You can get scopes of increasing strength by upgrading it. You can upgrade how fast it fires and reloads, all the above. And you can get 3 different types of ammo for it. You can get normal bolts, which you can just get headshots for one-hit kills. You can also use sleeping darts to knock them out. And you can get incendiary bolts, which cause huge explosions. And this is the gun that makes you feel totally powerful in this game. All the other guns are worthless because they make so much noise or have other issues.
Right.
But this gun, you can be on top of a 4-story building, standing up there and knock out 3 guys by slowing down time at the same time, never be detected.
It was a really tight crossbow too. Like it was like not tight like cool, but the controls were like really. Like
yeah,
it was,
exactly.
It was good.
It had a real punch to it.
Yeah.
Cool. My number 3 is the Master Sword from the Legend of Zelda series. But, once again, it shows up later on somebody else's list. So, we'll talk about it then.
All right, number 2, Frostmourne, the rune blade of the Death Knight Arthas and later Lich King. One of the most iconic swords if you're into Warcraft. Mm-hmm. Probably the legendary weapon of the most lore. Obviously owned by the Orc Ner'zhul, who got his body and soul ripped apart and placed in an armor set, and he put a little bit of his power into that sword and thrust it out for Arthas, his champion, to find, and well, we all know what happened then.
Yeah, well, people
Not
play
everyone.
the game and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
But, I mean, this was my number 4, and, I mean, you never actually get to wield Frostmourne or anything.
It would kill your soul.
But, like, just the story behind this thing alone, it's one of my favorite stories in all of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And it's not even that big in the grand scheme of things
Right.
in the Warcraft universe. But especially if you play, through Warcraft 3 and then go all the way up to Lich King in World of Warcraft.
Still probably one of my favorite moments.
It's just such a great, great story.
Oh, yeah.
And it's tragic, extremely.
it is.
Because Arthas was, he was a good guy in the beginning.
I think one of my favorite scenes is actually the opening to Wrath of the Lich King, when you have the overlay of his father talking about when he was first born, all his potential, and then the irony of what his dad's saying is technically came true, but everything's kind of opposite. You need to show restraint when you use your power, and he thrusts Frostmourne into the ground and resurrects a great Frostworm. Like, just that whole scene, that opening is still my favorite. It's one of the opening scene where Arthas is showing Frostmourne and the tragedy that was Arthas' life come to basically this point is just fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
What's funny is that we had actually forgotten about this, and then I brought it up, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to put Frostmourne on my list.
Yeah,
and Brian was like, oh, move mine down.
Yep.
I want it on there.
It's on there. Yep.
It's awesome.
It's an iconic weapon. Yep.
For sure. Mark, number 2, sir.
My number 2 was also on Brian's list previously. It is the gravity gun, or, as Alex refers to it, the 0-point energy field manipulator.
Which is,
That's what it's called.
I know.
Don't argue with me.
I'm not arguing. I just
like
it's
gravity
low.
gun better.
It's lower on my list because it had a lot of physics plot holes to me. Like it did.
What?
Why would you even put it on your list? It sounds like you hate it.
No, I know. I loved it. I love anything that can like directly manipulate. But manipulating gravity means you have to have mass. How did it create mass, and how did it focus the mass onto a specific object? Wouldn't everything get
mass
pulled
is
to it?
energy.
Well, right, but to pull something directly, how would you focus it on one thing instead of just creating the mass and then creating everything? Would be,
Oh my gosh! So why did you guys like it?
I loved it.
I'm not even saying this.
Because
this is
I'm-
all Brian.
I said it's lower on my
Brian's
list.
saying all this
It's 'cause
stuff.
I'm-
Don't let me in with that.
It's because
Don't yell at me. I'm asking why you liked it because we're doing a top 5
Oh, well,
list.
it sounded
low-
accusatory.
it's just-
Jeez.
you know what? It's a fantastic gun.
Here's
I'm
why the
nitpicking.
gun is amazing. Because everything is ammo
Yes.
once you get that gun. Saw blades on the ground, chairs, broken washing machines, boards. Can I just keep naming stuff until I run out
dead
of ideas?
bodies. Dead bodies.
Yeah, dead bodies.
Yep.
Anything. And eventually it gets overpowered by dark matter energy thing, plot hole stuff, and you can start just tearing things apart.
Yep.
It's a pretty fantastic gun for a game. One of the first FPSs to really have intricate physics puzzles.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Physics engines.
My number 2, shocker, is higher up on somebody else's list. And actually, we can talk about it right now because it's
Yeah.
Brian's.
My number 1's the portal gun, and you may say, Brian, that has a lot of plot physics holes as well. But anything that can create...
No. You need to go start listing the problems
Oh, boy.
and just drag it through the mud a little bit.
Well, the whole question is it creates wormholes that
Yeah.
can tear space and time. So how do you do that? But, I'll arrest my... just that gun. The puzzles... Oh, my goodness. The puzzles in that game where you had to figure out physics to use and the dropping things on things and the companion cube. That gun was...
It was just a blast.
Oh, my goodness.
It was so much fun.
The amount of fun you could have just putting a portal on the ceiling and then the portal on the ground and just dropping for infinite amount of time, just so mind-blowingly what's the word I'm looking for, revolutionary. Like, this is such a fantastic game. It doesn't really have much to it, but these puzzles, you have to think outside of the norm to complete these puzzles, like especially in Portal 2, some of the puzzles where you have to be like, okay, how does this work? Where you have to like start to pick up speed and then launch yourself by shooting another portal.
yeah.
Just, man.
It is. It's a great... I mean, and it's still... How old is the Portal series now?
Portal 1 was like 2006 or 7.
Came out with the orange box, I think.
Maybe it's older now, maybe 4.
And it's
2005? Yeah.
still holds up as one of the best weapons, I think. And some people would argue that it is a weapon, but you certainly use it as one.
Anything's a weapon.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I looked at it too. It's just so much fun.
Yeah.
I love you pretty much said it all. Being able to shoot one wall, shoot something in the floor, hop through and pop out next to the wall or
Yeah.
something like that. I mean, it's just a blast.
Yeah, take everything out of that game. That weapon alone is... And it's... People... Honestly, it's an iconic weapon at this point.
Absolutely.
And it's basically a gravity gun.
Well, yeah.
It can do all the gravity gun stuff.
True enough. All right. Mark, number 1
My number 1 also appeared on JJ's list
at number 3.
because it's the best.
Yep.
It is the Master Sword from all of the Zelda games.
Correct.
Have you played Skyward Sword?
No.
I have.
That's like the origin story.
I know.
of
I actually
it.
know because I watched my fiance play some of it.
The
It was
origin-
originally called the Goddess Sword.
Right.
And throughout the course of that game, you kind of craft it into what it becomes in the rest of the series.
It
Very
is.
cool.
It is. I mean, if nothing else, just because it's so iconic. It's the freaking Master Sword from Zelda.
Yeah.
When I first played the original Zelda back on the NES, I mean, shoot, I will admit I didn't actually even beat the game till many, many years later on. But the fact that I could upgrade my sword and my armor and everything like that was the coolest thing. And it always came down to, can I get the best sword in the game?
And then the revelation that you could shoot energy when you had full
When you had
life.
full life?
with the-
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That was big.
That wasn't just the Master Sword, though. That was every sword.
Well, I thought it was the Master Sword and up, because the first sword you get didn't do that.
Yeah, it did.
Did it?
Yep.
Plot
The
hole!
wooden sword did it?
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've played.
In the original Zelda,
Plot hole.
very first one,
Okay.
yeah,
I'm
you can
thinking
start
of Link-
shooting right off the bat.
I'm thinking a Link to the
Okay.
Past. Link to the Past, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
So the Blade of Evil's Bane, as it's sometimes referred to, is my number 1 weapon of all time.
Solid. My number 1 should come as no surprise. It's from a Final Fantasy game.
Oh, no.
The Buster Sword from Final Fantasy VII.
Dat Buster.
It's not really anything special. It's not like doesn't have any crazy powers or even look, that spectacular.
And you replace it pretty quickly, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, you actually steal the hard edge from the Soldier the Third
Nice
in the Shinra building.
that hard
Boom.
edge.
But I'm sure there have been other like oversized swords in the past before this game, but I really, at least from my point of view and what I've seen, this game seems like this sword was the one that brought that to the mainstream where a lot of other games started to use it after this. You still see, I mean, I've got Facebook friends who literally get like a giant wooden sword that they've made, or I have another guy on there who actually went to a metal shop and made a huge Buster sword out of it. And I mean, it's ridiculously sized for people, but they, sling it over their back and then they show themselves looking down and to the left with the sword
Same.
over, and then you take the picture so you look like Cloud.
Yep.
This one sword started all that.
I think even Blizzard uses oversized swords as the same kind of iconic look.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of times you look at these swords and you're like, it's ridiculous. Nobody could lift that.
Oh yeah.
But this game did it, and it made it work. Yeah. So it's super iconic, and I just love Final Fantasy.
Like him and Sephiroth swords are super, like the oversized katana.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're both iconic as hell.
That Sephiroth's katana is just like the size of a building.
It's just
ridiculous.
It's like longer than he is.
Right. So yeah, that's my number one, the Buster Sword.
Yeah, nice.
Very nice.
So there we have it, our top 5 video game weapons.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else?
I really don't. Other than like, what was Sephiroth's sword's name again? Masamune?
I believe so.
So you looking forward to your cruise coming up?
I am. And we're going to be we will have one more episode before I go out of town. And when I get back from being out of town, I'm actually moving. So we are actually going to have a break. There's something else that might be getting posted instead. We're kind of working out the details at this point. So don't take my word for it just yet. We'll give you more details in the next show that we put out. But yeah, we'll definitely have another show in 2 weeks, and then after that, there will not be a Frozen North episode because I just won't be here, and these guys they want to take a couple of weeks off. Yep. So, okay, you guys got anything else then for this week? Episode 54.
Nah, just keep on gaming.
Man,
Woo! I stole it from you.
goodbye, y'all. How was that? Did I do that right?
Pretty good.
I hate you. All right, with that, this is the Frozen North signing off. My name is JJ.
My name's Mark.
And my name is Brian the Magnificent.
Thank you again for listening. Episode number 54. And as always, what, Mark?
Keep on gaming.
Thank you very much.
Or as Mark would say, keep on giving.
Keep on gaming.
Keep on giving.
Keep on giving. Tranquility.
Our theme song was made available through the Creative Commons Attribution license by Ziphoid. The song title is Radical Fanfare.